Joanna here from Inspired by Stamping. Today we're going to take a peek at watercoloring our hexagon stamp set. This is such a fun and easy technique, and you can use such an array of colors and different pencils or watercolors or zig pens, as I'm going to be showing you today. And here I'm sharing our Words of Inspiration 2 stamp set, and with this one it's just a totally different effect using some black cardstock and also our Sending You stamp set that's new too in our store with a bit of brighter background too here. I'm really excited to share this technique with you, so let's get started. First, what you're going to want to do is just grab some Canson watercolor paper and of course our embossing buddy. This is so important for using our clear embossing powder and making sure that it doesn't stick. So I'm using a mini Misty here. We want to make sure that we push that all the way in the corner there to make a perfect stamping. And here's our hexagon stamp set, and we're just going to line this up perfectly straight up and down here, making sure that it's perfect. And I'm sorry if you see my hair a little bit, but I just wanted to make sure it's perfectly lined up. Then we're going to grab our Versamark here, and we're just going to press down very lightly. You don't have to press very hard at all with that Misty. It's so fun and so easy to use. And then we're just going to grab some clear embossing powder. I'm using the Wow embossing powder. It's clear. It's the fine one. It's the super fine one. I just love that one the best. And just kind of go over a little bit with our embossing powder and then flick it pretty hard. Get the excess off there. And we're just going to grab our heat gun here real quickly, and we're just going to get the little dots off, make sure there's nothing there. And then we're just going to heat gun this with our heat gun. I always want to make sure that it's looking pretty good, so sometimes you got to just dust off a little bit extra that gets stuck. And then we're just going to quickly use our heat gun here. I just wanted to share this technique with you because you'll see soon how I line it up the other way, and that's really what I wanted to show with you today. But if you already know how to emboss, please go ahead and just fast forward this little segment here. So we're going to put another little layer of embossing buddy down just to make sure that it doesn't stick. So sometimes I find that that second embossing layer, it has a tendency, that embossing powder still has a tendency to stick to that paper, and we really want to make sure that it doesn't. So you're just going to line this up just as close as you can get it, and it's so cool. You just flipped it around and again grabbed our Versamark, and we're just going to emboss one more time. I'm sure you could do both sides with the Versamark and then emboss the whole entire thing, but I really just like this way of doing it because I feel like I can see it a little bit better than having to see it through my Versamark, which sometimes I can't see it at all on watercolor paper. And this just kind of gives me a little bit more of an edge to line those stamps up perfectly. So again, we're just going to hit this again one more time with our heat gun. And then we're just going to get ready to start watercoloring. So I'm using zig pens here today, and I absolutely love them. But you could also use watercolors or the polychromo pencils too. They would turn out really beautiful as well. So here it is, all looking shiny with a little bit of clear embossing powder. We're going to also use this Pentel watercolor brush and our zig pen. So here they are all lined up here. And what you're going to do is just want to lay down a little bit water first. The reason why I'm laying down water first is because I just, sometimes I find that the zig pens have a tendency to adhere, really bind to that watercolor paper, and you have a tendency to have a bigger line, and I don't want that. I want to make sure that it's all blended here, but you could try to do it either way. Again, you just grab some watercolors and just use random colors. Fall's coming, and I think this would be really beautiful with some fall colors. Oranges, browns would be really beautiful too. Even winter, a winter card would look really beautiful. The key to make sure that, as you can just see right here, is I brushed off that tip of that brush because I don't want to have the colors going into that yellow. So really make sure that you clean that brush tip before you switch colors with your zig pen. And as you can see here, I just wanted to share how if you put that line down first with that zig pen, it's kind of harder to move that around. So you can see I have more of a definition. But if you're going with that, go for that. Just play around, see what you want, lay down your color. You can do it either way. Lay down water first and then put your zig pen on. Or you can, lay down the zig pen first and just see how that goes. What colors I'm using is turquoise, pink, yellow, a little bit of gray, a little bit of brown, and some light green. And I'll list all the colors that I used below in our blog post today. So as you can see here, I've decided that I want to lay down my zig pen color first onto the paper because I really like this edge. It's kind of giving a little shadow effect, and I think it looks kind of, kind of pretty and a bit definitive lines. I like that in this watercolor that I'm working with right now. But for other colors, I prefer to lay down water first, and maybe a light color first is what I usually put down. And that allows you to be able to work with your watercolor paints for a little bit longer before it dries, and you can kind of move that color around before it really adheres into that watercolor paper. But with these zig pens, if you don't have any water down or any kind of first layer down, it will, that marker will just absorb right into that watercolor paper, and you will have a harder time moving around that color. And that is just really a big key here with any kind of watercoloring. So you're just going to have to play around with it. See, I wouldn't recommend laying down ink first on your flowers or your animals. If you're just watercoloring pretty cute little figures and animals, I would probably have a tendency to lay down my water first. So as you can see, just keep on moving that around. I like it with these shapes. I kind of think that it takes a lot of that work with shading right now for these cute little hexagons, and you just keep moving around, keep playing with it. Just put down one layer. You might want it super dark, and like I just see right here, I'm putting a second layer over it just to make that green just a wee bit darker here. So I'm using brown too, and I've used gray, and I'm just randomly coloring these spots. I don't have any organization here. I'm just randomly coloring it, and I just love it. I think you could use just all sorts of colors, and you can keep going darker too. If you're finding that this is too light, just add another layer, and you can really bring out the colors of these beautiful zig pens. I absolutely love these. They make coloring so quick and so easy, and you're done in a heartbeat, as you can see today, and you've already created a beautiful background. So here I'm grabbing some gray, just a little bit of gray here, and coloring this in quickly. One of the great things about using the clear embossing powder, or you could have used white or gold or black, that would have looked really beautiful too, is that embossing powder acts as a barrier, and your watercolor will actually hit the side of it, and it will automatically create those hexagon lines, those hard lines for you, so you really don't have to worry too much about making perfect lines. It automatically will do that itself, and it's just easy and quick and simple technique, and I really hope that you've enjoyed it today. Here's a closer look at my cards. I am using the Sending You. I've just used some double-sided sticky tape here and some clear sequences and a little bit of gold twine. I ended up cutting the card the same way as I always do, but I flipped it around the other way today. I just really loved that effect. I thought it was really cool. And here I'm using the Words of Inspiration 2 stamp set with gold embossing. And in this card, I'm using watercolors. I didn't use the zig pens. And again, I use that gold twine. And to keep it standing straight up, just put a little dot of glue behind it so that it doesn't fall down or sag when you've got that card up. And again, some cute little sequences. So I really hope that you've enjoyed today's tutorial. If you have any questions or concerns or anything, don't forget to email me. And if you'd like to see me create a card from start to finish with insider tips that I only give on our online classes, make sure to join our newsletter where I give bi-weekly classes with great insider tips and tutorials. And don't forget to visit us on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.